Green buildings. What about the tenants?
It's an interesting question, because if you attend a lot of conferences and exhibitions, there is a lot of discussion about green buildings, but mainly from the investor or finance perspective, and not much about end users. And I'm CEO of Buck Consultants, which is a company which does a lot of work for companies finding worldwide locations for their new software center, their new distribution center, their new manufacturing plant. And that perspective of the end user, and what is he willing to pay, and what is he willing to pay for a green building or for retrofit of an existing building, that's something which is in many cases lacking. What we see in our day-to-day work is really a difference between the different levels within a company. So you have the CEO level, where everybody's saying in the annual reports it's the right thing to do, personal values, it's good for the image of the company, that's one. And then the second perspective is more the guy who's responsible for corporate real estate. And he's measured by costs, by budgets, by can we do less space with less money to be spent on that perspective. So I really see a difference in that perspective, that even companies which are being perceived as very green, if it comes down to their decisions which location to pick and which building to pick, then costs and bottom line are very important as well. I think if you look into the location decision process of companies, it's also important to recognize that sustainability and the sustainability of the building is only one relatively small element. So if a company says, I want to set up a new software development center in Europe and I need a new building there of 8,000 square meters, then they are looking for the right talent. They are looking for the corporate taxes, for telecom providers, for utilities, for a good economic profile. And yes, having the right building is also an element to take care of, but mainly at the end of the decision process. So I think we should not exaggerate the importance of green buildings in the total location decision process. It's clear that it has a role to play at the end of a location decision. So if a company has to make the choice between 2-3 buildings, then they will look into energy certificates, they will look into what the cooling installations are, etc. But in the whole process, it's up to now a minor issue. And what we see is a clear distinction between front runners, so say the top 20%, which are always in the magazines, the conferences, etc., who do the right thing and perceive themselves to be green and act actually like that. But there's a group of followers which are not that focused yet and which are not that keen yet to adopt green strategies if it's not being offset immediately by money, so that you can say, okay, well, we have a greener building and for that reason it's lower cost. So there is still a lot of a world to conquer, I would say.
Do you think it's going to change in the next 10, 20 years?
Yeah, I think it's going to change because the investors will recognize that their buildings have more long-lasting value if they are green and have sustainability measures. So I would say I think that the world will change more from the investors and investment and finance perspective, than that it will change by the role of end users. Certainly if you talk about the whole pack. So I'm not talking about the 30% top front runners who are always, let's say, walking before the troops. But the main pack will be followed, will have to be forced to follow.